Hello, everyone. It's Sam from Natp, and I am joined today by a special guest, a new face. If you have joined us a lot lately, Roger. Roger, thanks for being here with us. Um,
Yep.
we have something new to talk about. So first, I guess why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then kind of dovetail into why we're talking today.
Gotcha. So my name's Roger Nemeth. I've been an enrolled agent for, going on 7, 8 years now. I developed a software program that downloads transcripts back in 2009 called Tax Help Software. And because of that, I interact a lot with the IRS, especially in regards to power of attorneys, 8821s, all things with these services. And one of the alternatives to our program is to call the IRS and get transcripts delivered to what's called the SOR mailbox. And that's kind of what's brought me to the conversation today. Is there's been some changes around the phone conversation with the IRS to get more transcripts than previously allowed.
And what, if you don't mind telling us all, what was that change? It seems like it was a pretty big one, or at least noteworthy in the world of transcripts.
On the surface, it doesn't seem that big, but I'll go over a couple of instances where it was. And this was done to address the phone call system at the IRS being overwhelmed. This is one of the things that'll reduce phone calls. So in the IRM, the IRS had to always put, if somebody calls and requests IRS transcripts be delivered, in the old days it was via fax, then a couple of years ago they said it had to be delivered digitally through the e-services mailbox. They had a arbitrary limit of 10. And the problem was, if you were helping somebody with tax resolution or maybe trying to get them compliant, you could very easily ask for more than 10 transcripts. A lot of times I do a lot of training with resolution folks. And what we always tell people is go back to 1998 so you can get the information to do a first-time penalty abatement. The problem was, if you were limited to 10 transcripts and the CAF unit was taking 6-8 weeks to process, you might have to call the IRS multiple times to get all the transcripts for one taxpayer. Because the IRS stopped faxing and went to the online service, they could send you an unlimited number of transcripts, and it didn't take any longer on the phone call. In the old days when they were faxing, they were somewhat limited to the size of the fax and how long the connection could be, and it was an infrastructure problem. When they switched to digital, it opened up the opportunity where they could basically upload you 100, 200 transcripts, and it doesn't take them any longer than if they're going to do 10, because it's a fire and forget. Once they put the number in, they then send it, and that's all they have to do. You don't have to wait on the line. Some people try to wait on the line to make sure they come in, but the IRS says, hey, they'll be in the next 24 hours. But if they're not there in 5 minutes, they're not coming. That's usually the rule. So what the IRS did was they expanded the 10 transcript limit to 30. So you should be able to get all the transcripts you need on one phone call for a taxpayer. In addition to that, something that didn't change, but a lot of people don't know, you are allowed, when talking to the practitioner line, you're allowed to ask about 5 different taxpayers. So if you have a husband and a wife, that would be 2. Okay. If they had a business, that would be the 3rd. That would still give you 2 other entities to ask for. So if you think about it, you can ask for up to 5 information on 5 socials or 5 EIN numbers. A lot of people think spouses count as 1, but really they're 2. So in theory, you can now get 150 transcripts per call, but the IRS won't let you get 150 for the same. You're still limited to the new limit of 30 for each identification number.
Okay. And this might seem like a very basic question, but backing it up just one step for those who might be listening and don't know, what are you talking about when you're referring to an IRS transcript?
So the IRS transcript, to put it in the best way possible, and there's several different types of transcripts, it's almost like a bank statement of your debits and credits with the IRS for each year. So whereas if you go to your bank and say, what went into my account, what came out of my account, they'll give you one statement for each account. The IRS, in essence, creates an account for every tax year. So in theory, you would have up to 30 accounts if you needed to go back 30 years. So you have to look at each year as its own separate account with the Treasury Department, which is your inbounds and outbounds, how much taxes you paid, how much withholding, what your refunds were. And for most of us, without a tax issue, our balance usually stays at zero. Leading up to tax time, if you make estimated payments, then obviously you'll have a credit ready to come back to you or be applied to the taxes. But for most people, zero is where you want to be with a tax account.
Okay. And you were just talking a little bit, but are those examples of types of transcripts that can be requested, or is that a completely different thing?
No, all right. So I'll list off the specific transcripts they talk about with just a very brief description of each one. So you have a tax return transcript, which is in essence the IRS computer generated version of a tax return. They're not 100%. So if you hold the 1040 up to it, you won't have every single field, but about 90% of the fields will be on the tax return transcript. Great way to evaluate if your client in past years did them correctly. Or one thing that we used to use those for is for new tax clients, I would look at an old return transcript from the prior 2 years, and I could understand what I would need to charge them if nothing changed. You have rental properties and an S corp, and your wife sells cosmetics under a Schedule C for Mary Kay Cosmetics, because everybody comes in and says I'm easy, I'm an easy return, but really there's very few easy returns. So I used to use it to give an estimate for new clients. That's a great way to do that. You've got the tax account transcript is the specific transcript that tracks the debits and credits for each tax year with the Department of Treasury. Things like audits will show up on those. It's kind of your real-time status of what's happening at the IRS and also the historical record of what they've done to that account. The next one is the very popular transcript. The wage and income transcripts are a list of all the wages earned, or at least all the wages reported under that Social Security number. They don't do those for businesses. So businesses can't get wage and incomes, but businesses issue wage and incomes to their employees. But there's no way you can call and try to get some kind of record of what your company has sent out, but it's not really a transcript. Sometimes you get a screenshot. They're difficult. I don't even know what the name is. I know that you can be successful by calling, by begging, and they may give it to you at the small business line. But the IRS transcript is the one a lot of us pull in October for our returns under extension. So we make sure that the taxpayer reported everything that they need to so they don't have a potential problem. Two other more obscure transcripts. A record of account transcript is a combined tax return transcript and an account transcript. I don't recommend them because the IRS doesn't update them as often as they do the other two. So if you do the record of account thinking you're saving time by doing the combined one, I've just seen where it's not updated as fast. So good transcript in theory, bad transcript in operation. And then they also provide verification of non-filing letters. If your taxpayer needs a verification that they didn't file, it's hard to prove a negative. That's what that non-verification letter says. It basically says this person did not file a tax return. I don't know if it goes into should they have filed a tax return, but it is something that says they did not file. Say if you were trying to get a mortgage on a house and you had to prove a negative, which is I didn't file, this is the I didn't file letter that you can get. So those are the 5 what they call external transcripts. Those are the ones that you can get 30 for each Social Security or EIN number. There are some internal transcripts. The most famous one or common one is called the Tax Mod A. The internal transcripts that are difficult to get at the IRS, you're supposed to get them, you just often don't get them. Those are called internal transcripts, and those are still limited to 10.
Okay, that's good to know. So shifting gears a little bit, we talked briefly at the start of the chat about, calling or using an online portal. When would it be advantageous for someone to use the phone line versus using the online portal?
Okay, so in normal times, in theory, the IRS now has instant power of attorney access. Okay, it's a new system. It's not working well. So what we're telling people is play with that now. Don't rely on your practice. But if you came into my office, we might give it a try, and 20 to 40% success rate. I would have the transcripts through the new online power of attorney. My personal recommendation that I give to all our software users and some big entities that pay for contract work is we recommend they use what's called the 2848-8821 upload portal with a wet signature. Current processing time in the CAF unit is right around 3 weeks. It had gotten as high as 8 to 12 weeks during the peak of COVID, but the CAF unit has actually, at last I heard, it's subject to change. Your results might be slightly different. It's not 100%, but what we've heard over the past 2 weeks is it's around 3 weeks. You would want to call if you can't wait for transcripts. So let's say you came to me and said, the IRS just hit my bank account for a $1,000 levy. You probably don't want to wait 3 weeks for action. So in your case, I would call the IRS, have an 8821 or 2848 signed, and then I would be able to get your information immediately and start helping you by looking at the data. So it boils down to the phone call is usually the best way to establish for a new client, whereas the CAF unit is if you're just trying to maybe start tracking an existing client, but you're not in any rush because they don't have any pending issues.
Perfect. That's a great explanation. What are, it's almost tax season. So
Right.
What are some of the main transcript or audit considerations tax pros should be aware of as we start prepping?
So good question. So we just met with the IRS, and at that meeting was the folks from CCH and Block and Jackson Hewitt. It was the who's who. It's the kind of the annual software meeting with the IRS. And the biggest concern that everybody had about this year is reconciling all the different payments from either advanced child tax credit, stimulus is when you're dealing with businesses. There's going to be some possible, and I didn't really get involved that much in the business end of things, but I think the EIDL maybe, whatever it was the businesses were getting, some of that information is on the transcripts. So a lot of those folks, the large software companies, have started to look at transcripts because the transcript will show you a record of, again, all debits and credits, advanced child tax credit. So I know a lot of tax help software users a lot of them did anyway. They would get 8821s or power of attorneys on all their clients so they could track with them or pull their data during tax season without having to wait the 3 or 4 months. You can also do 3 years in the future. So you're not having to ask them to sign new stuff every year, just usually every 3 or 4 years, which is a nice thing. And the big software companies even have started to look at, we need to start evaluating, because the IRS is sending out letters of what the advanced child tax credit and the math error notices, but they're not always correct. And the taxpayers, as we all know, don't always bring what they need. And there may not be a portal that you can go into this year with the IRS and see that information. So a lot of people are going to rely on transcripts that they've already gotten in prior years, or they'll start requesting new ones for their clients. Because even if they do the return and they take their best guess with the client, they don't have letters. One of the things tax help software does, but you can also do by hand, is we do post-filing income verification where you compare the wage and income to the return transcript, and you see if there's a potential CP2000, which is an underreporter. So the software does it for you. As soon as the wage and income becomes available after May and the return transcript shows up 6 weeks after filing, we'll pop an alert and say, hey, there's a 1099 miscellaneous that apparently is missing, or a K1 or a W-2 wasn't reported right. We'll show the discrepancies. Some tax preparers, and this has been going on for years. My dad's been doing this for 15 years plus, but he used to just get the wage and income in the return transcript and do it by hand. It can still be done. It's just easier if you have 1,000 clients in a database and it just says, look at these 10, not looking at 1,500. So, but that's one of the biggest things that's coming up this year. And you're even starting to see some of the software companies start to look at transcripts as a solution, because it's the only place that the data is accurately.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Are there any other, upcoming changes or anything that you've heard from your work with the IRS that tax pros should be aware of?
So some exciting things on the horizon. So first off, it's either already started and it's expanding, or they're about to launch it, but they're looking at a very large call center in Puerto Rico for ACS, which is automated collections. And twofold with that, having a call center in Puerto Rico does two things. It's bilingual, so they no longer have to maintain 2 separate lingual lines. It's just, now if you hit 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, now it goes to the same place. Same wait times, same that. The reason they did Puerto Rico was they have been trying to hire customer service representatives across the country at where existing call centers are. And just one example, I think it was Deatra Grant, who is one of the heads of customer service at the IRS. And one of the cities, and I may have gotten the numbers wrong slightly, but you'll get the gist of what she was saying. They put out applications for 2,000 positions, call center positions. 900 qualified applicants applied, and who knows how many would get through. That was just the pre-interview qualification. So if you figure all the people out there, maybe they were able to hire 25% of what they were looking for. When they put a request in Puerto Rico out for let's hire, for a new call center, they got 5 times the number of positions that applied, 4 or 5 times. So the IRS saw the opportunity and said, hey, let's scale it up and try to, this is where we can hire people. Let's do it. It's bilingual. And so they're in the process of either upgrading or building a new ACS center in Puerto Rico. And then the one thing they'll have to address there is what happens if a hurricane takes out the infrastructure again in Puerto Rico. So the IRS would then lose a percentage of ACS. And also, a lot of people don't know this, but when there is a FEMA emergency, the IRS call center, a percentage of it slips to answer FEMA calls. So in 2017, when there were the 3 big hurricanes, and I just saw the report, I can't remember them by name, but there were 700,000 extra calls the IRS call center had to handle as FEMA representatives. So the big change you're going to see, hopefully, is this new ACS call center will reduce the hold times on the phone. The other things that are coming down the pike is I think the IRS has enough tools to start addressing the backlog of the CAF unit and maybe start reducing, if you and I can go on and get transcripts right now through the automated process, if it worked well, then we don't even have to call and even worry about the 30. So if the IRS will start to perfect or improve the tools that they have, and they're working on it. ID.me has been a big step forward where you're validating, where you're not just relying on does your cell phone match. Taxpayers can now go in and take a picture of themselves and their driver's license or call the number if they fail so many validations and get validated over the phone. So ID.me is going to make the electronic access for both tax pros and taxpayers much less painful. If the IRS can get the online power of attorney to work, because right now it makes you answer 5 questions. So if I'm doing 1,000 POAs, I have to answer the same 5 questions as a tax pro 1,000 times. We're asking the IRS if I have to submit 100 power of attorneys or 8821s, please let us just ask the question one time. Am I current? Me, the professional. Is this my address? The other thing that we've advocated for is they make you put your address in every time, and it has to be exact to the period, dot, and abbreviation. Ooh. And our thoughts are, since you're behind secure access, they know who you are. Just show the address and say, is this where you want notices sent to? Because that's really what they're trying to do. They're not using it to validate who you are because you're behind secure access. If secure access isn't secure, then the whole system should be broken anyway. So we're trying to get the IRS that these are the bottlenecks with the new system. Let them go away. But that single change and upgrade, and I think they're coming in the next 6 months, we're all going to be able to have a client sit in front of us and 90% of the time get that client's transcripts electronically without any human intervention from an IRS employee. So yes, that would be the game changer that's coming. And everybody says, what does the IRS need to do to fix the call center and everything? And I'm like, they just need to get the online power of attorney running. They now have it. Now they just need to make it efficient because it's quicker, honestly, to do a fax than it is to fill out their online process. So I think that's where they're headed, to maximize the new deployments, which would then lower the number of calls.
Interesting.
And number I had heard is almost 50% of calls to practitioner line are for transcripts.
Okay.
I don't know how accurate that is, but that was informally some people that interact with the IRS, and I've asked that question to the IRS, and I kind of get the maybe in that neighborhood kind of thing. So not a definite number. It is definitely a large percentage, whether it's 50, 25, anything would help get these calls answered.
That could be huge. That could be huge for the industry. Being a tax preparer, to be able to have that at your fingertips rather than having to. I have a little friend. Yeah. And so let's bring this full circle here. You're with Tax Help Software. Tell us a little bit more about your software and how it can help tax professionals be more efficient.
So the misconception all the time is that tax transcripts are only for tax resolution. And I was at a retail Jackson Hewitt with up to 20 to 50 offices. We used to use it for basically finding refunds. I think some people call it second look, and also analyzing the transcripts, post-filing compliance. But where it can help a tax pro is it allows you to be proactive as opposed to reactive. Because we all have clients in the tax business that get a notice from the IRS and will leave you, and you never know why they left. If you know that they're getting a notice, you can reach out. Not only that, we let you know up to 6 months before an audit notice or CB 2000 hits. So if you call a client and go, hey, it's May, you just filed a return, you forgot 3 1099s. Why don't you come in and I'll charge you $100, $200 for an amended return, whatever your rates are. That changes the conversation for the 9 months from then when they call you up and go, you screwed up my return. So it enables your retention to go up. It allows you to better serve your clients. Anything that you can do with less errors is obviously going to be less work on your behalf. So it lets you work proactively and more efficiently. Some people actually charge for the monitoring of the IRS account. Some people get passive income, either a monthly payment from their users or from their taxpayers, or they'll add, hey, do you want me to track your IRS account this year for $100, $150 extra? And they run them internally, and all that money goes into your pocket. And again, you're not charging for the work if they're audited. It's the notification. If somebody comes to me and I say, hey, yes, I'll sell you a monitoring service, it detects the audit. If I can start working on your case before the audit happens, I can eliminate the accuracy-related penalties with an amended return. And that's been a fantastic traction point in the tax community. The fact that the wage and incomes look for the post-filing compliance, which is your CB 2000s, as early as May. The other thing it allows you to do is if you're doing a return under extension in October, even though it can't do the comparison because you haven't filed a return yet, it will print out a wage and income report so you can make sure it's all been reported before you hit that transmit button and cause issues. So it allows you to be much more proactive, and you're starting to see some of the larger software companies start to adopt transcripts. So you're seeing this go much more mainstream in the automated process. And it, the IRS wants everybody to be voluntary compliance. Any tool that allows you to get it more correct. The less CB 2000s the IRS sends out, the more money they make, because they don't want to tell people they messed up. They just want it to be done right the first time. And that's what Tax Help software currently allows tax professionals to do.
That's exciting. I mean, it's easier on everyone to do it correctly and accurately the first time rather than having to go back and make changes. And it's just easier.
Yeah, we also have, and I don't know the folks on here, but we've got it on our website, and I just talked to the folks at Natp, but we have the Natp member link on our website as well. If you're interested in trying the product for new users, it's $250 for 6 months, and the regular price is $600 for an annual license, and then we have some optional tax resolution things. Our average user usually spends between $600 and $800 a year for it. But the $250 will actually take you from now through tax season. So you can try it, including the tax monitoring product. We generate POAs and 8821s for you, but it'll take you all the way through your first tax season for $250. And you can sign up for the Natp special at taxhelpsoftware.com. And just make sure you click on the Natp member offer at the top.
That's a huge discount and a really, really big asset. I would imagine for a lot of practitioners this coming season. That's super exciting, and we're so happy to be partnered with Tax Help Software. And so that's really all that we have on our end, Roger. Unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
That was it. If anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them and about anything.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll wait a few more seconds for if anyone has any questions. Feel free to submit them in the comments. Roger will address them. We did have a comment. I just did it, and it took me 6 weeks to receive it. I'm guessing probably about a transcript.
And it might have been one of two things, because it could be the power of attorney or the 8821. Occasionally, people are delayed, but also people using the new online power of attorney system. There are people that have gotten it 6 weeks later. Like, for example, you come into my office as a taxpayer, and I send it to you. I send the power of attorney to your account. You approve it. It shows approved in the account. Right now, I have had people reporting, in some cases, it takes 4 to 6 weeks. We think the IRS, with it being a new system, is actually hand pushing some of them through that have some kind of flag on them. It's supposed to be instant, but we have heard it's been up to 48 hours, and in some cases, 4 to 6 weeks, which is expected to get better. And this, again, is the online power of attorney, not the upload portal for the 2848 or the 8821. They're slightly different.
Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions come through, but if someone's watching this post live, feel free to leave a message in the comments. We'll make sure to get it over to Roger and hopefully get you an answer back. Roger, thanks again for being here. Again, NATP members, you do get a discount, a huge discount on the Tax Help Software's product, and Roger said it will take you through tax season, so that's really exciting. Definitely take advantage of that if you can. Roger, again, this information is available on Tax Help Software's website. It's also available on NATP's website. So either way you can find it. We've got to thank you for all the updates. So thank you, Roger. That's really all that I've got, unless, like I said, if there's anything else that you wanted to add, Roger,
that's it. Just remember, everything at the IRS is subject to change. They usually don't do a lot of changes right here at the end of the year because they're getting ready for tax season. But I think you'll see the existing systems get better. The phones are going to get better, knock on wood, hopefully, from what we're hearing. CAF times are coming down. So I think you're going to start seeing us come out of COVID, at least in regards to IRS processing and communications.
That will be a big relief for many. Yes. Well, thanks again, Roger, for being here with me today. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we will talk again sometime soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great
Bye.
day.